Hi, and welcome to Ivy English. I'm Angela.
And I'm Wesley.
Today is August 3rd, and we're doing a news article with 2 articles here for you in one. You get a 2-for-1 special today. Woohoo! Sorry. Our first article is called First Black Woman to Join U.S. Supreme Court. Now, this is a really classic news headline. We have all the information and none of the determiners. We didn't bother to say the or because it just takes up space and we know what you mean. Otherwise, though, if this was a real sentence, you'd have to say the first black woman to join the U.S. Supreme Court.
好，所以这个标题，所以它这里其实省略了2个冠词哈。那但是因为它标题，所以没有问题哈。那我们的中文标题是杰克森成为美国首位非裔女性大法官。
So, the U.S. Senate recently confirmed Ketanji Brown Jackson as the first black woman to become a member of the Supreme Court. Out of the 115 justices who have served on the U.S. Supreme Court, all of them except for 3 have been white, and only 5 have been women. Thus, the appointment of Jackson is a landmark moment in U.S. history. Before her nomination, Jackson spent many years working as a judge in the lower courts. At one point, she served as a clerk for Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer, the man she is now going to replace. Based on her previous decisions, many expect her to judge in a more liberal manner. And by liberal here, we don't mean freely. By liberal, we mean a political term in the United States. It's in opposition to conservative. And liberal roughly translates to Democrats, and conservative roughly translates to Republicans.
好，所以这个 liberal 在这里它不是指自由的哈，那中文有的时候把它翻成自由主义啊哈，但这个地方其实是比较相对于保守的一个字。好，那一般来讲，美国的这个共和党一般认为是比较保守的，那民主党一般是认为比较 liberal 的。
And so the quick background to this is that in the United States right now, there's a fight for the control of the political narrative. And this fight has politicized the court, with the Republicans trying to get conservative judges in so that they can do the kind of laws they want to. And the Democrats are fighting less effectively to get liberal judges in to get their kind of laws upheld.
好，所以这个在美国现在的状况是，共和党会比较希望能够有一些多一点的这个比较保守的大法官，这样对于他们要通过的一些法案会比较有利。那当然民主党的就会比较希望能够有一些比较开明的、比较开放一点的这种法官。
Okay, so the first sentence says the U.S. Senate, which is in the legislative body in the United States, there's 2 halves, and the Senate is the more powerful half, and they are required to confirm Supreme Court nominations. If they don't confirm it, you can't put them in. And that's part of the famous American checks and balances. The Senate can decide on the president's choices, and the president can decide on the Senate's choices. So the Senate confirmed Ketanji Brown Jackson. They said, yes, President Biden, you can have this Supreme Court justice. And she is the first black woman to become a member of the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court is the American name for the highest court in the land. They're the ones that get to judge all of the other cases.
好，所以呢，美国参议院啊，那这个大法官的任命必须要美国参议院通过才行啊。那美国总统任命，但是这个参议院要通过。所以美国参议院呢，最近 confirmed 就是确认啊，我们也可以翻成通过了哈。他确认了啊，这一位女士啊，这 Ketanji Brown Jackson 啊，那 as 她要作为第一位 black woman 非裔的女性啊，那她是 the first something to become 或者 to do something， 就是第一位做到这件事情的人，所以她是第一位做到底下这件事情的非裔女性。做到什么事情呢？她成为了 a member of the Supreme Court， 美国最高法院的一个成员。那在这里指的就是她成为美国的大法官。
So out of the 115 justices who have served on the U.S. Supreme Court, and we're talking for all time since the conception of the United States until the present, so 200-something years, there have been 115 justices total. A justice is another word for judge. So all of them, except for 3, have been white, and the non-white ones have only been installed in the last 30 years. So that's a huge change for American politics. But it's not that big a change for the underrepresented minorities in the United States. Anyways, only 5 justices of these 115 justices have been women. So, and those also have been appointed in the last 50 years. So that's a thing.
好，所以呢，他说 out of the 就是在这里面当中，在这115位 justices， 那这个 justice 这个字呢，它可以表示司法，它也可以表示正义但它也可以表示法官。所以呢，目前为止有115位法官，就是最高法院的这个大法官呢 ，who have served， 他们曾经任职在美国的这个最高法院。所以这句话意思就是美国从有史以来总共有115位大法官。那 all of them 他们所有的人，那 except for 是除了所以 except for 常常跟 all 一起用all 后面常常就出现一个 except for， 就是除了这个之外其他通通都是。所以这115人里面呢，这个除了3位之外呢都是白人。那这个黑人的大法官刚刚 Angela 讲都是最近30年才任命的，然后呢其中只有5位是女性。
So thus, therefore, the appointment of Jackson is a landmark moment in U.S. history. The appointment of her means that she has been put in place in the court. She has been appointed to the court. It's not that she has an appointment. It means she has been given this position. And it is a landmark moment. A landmark is a very big structure that makes that part of the land memorable. For instance, a giant tower is a landmark. Everyone can see that tower and they know that where that thing is. And so this appointment of this justice is a moment in U.S. history that we can point back to and be like, important.
好，所以呢 thus 就是因此缘故 the appointment of Jackson 就是 Jackson 的任命appointment 在这里不是约会的意思，而是任命所以他的任命呢是一个 a landmark， 就是一个指标性的一个 moment 时刻，所以这是一个指标性的时刻 in U.S. history， 在美国历史上这是一个指标性重大的时刻。
Before her nomination, a nomination is when someone puts your name forward, they name you for the position. So if you're nominated for something, it means that people are like, should we have this person? And usually it's a list of like 15 judges that they consider to be for the appointment. And so before she was nominated, before she was part of this process, she spent many years working as a judge in the lower courts. So she worked as a judge in normal courts in, I don't actually know which part of the country she came from, but like municipal courts or federal courts.
好，所以 before her nomination 就是在她被提名之前呢Jackson 他 spent many years doing something， 就他做了很多年的这个事情。什么事情呢？ Working as a judge 就担任法官。好，那在哪里担任法官呢？ In the lower courts 就是在层级比较低的法院通常就是指地方的法院。
At one point, she served as a clerk. A clerk is basically a helper, like a secretary for a boss. She served as a clerk for Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer. So she worked for him to help him look up materials and, do all the things that need to be done. And the man she is now, Stephen Breyer is the man she is now going to replace. So she worked for him and now she's going to take his place at the bench.
好，所以 at one point 就是曾经一度这个 point 就是指在事情的发展期间某一个阶段或者某一段时间所以通常是用单数 at one point 就曾经一度。他怎么样呢 ？Served as 他以这样的身份服务或者他工作的身份是一个 clerk， 一个职员或者一个书记员。替谁做书记员呢？替这个最高法院大法官这个叫做 Stephen Breyer， 他等于说他是跟着他做事了。那这个人是谁呢？这个人就是他现在要取代的那个人所以大概显然表现很好，所以 Stephen Breyer 觉得说不错，我推荐这个人不错。
No, I don't think it works like that. It's a coincidence that she's replacing him. It's
really?
not because of that.
Okay.
No.
所以我刚刚讲错了这个不是因为说这个觉得他不错就推荐他，而是正好是巧合他正好之前曾经做过他现在要取代的这一位大法官的这个助理。
it's a political appointment. It's not just something that the judge has no say in what comes after him. He can be like, yeah, I like them.
Okay.
But it's entirely a political appointment made for political purposes in the United States.
Yeah, that's true. 所以呢，这个大法官不是说自己可以找他继任的人，继任的人大法官是完全没有权力去管的，都是这个他是个政治上面就是总统的职权，任命大法官。
So based on her previous decisions, based on the judgments she has handed down in cases in the past, many expect her, they think that this is going to happen. They expect her to judge in a more liberal manner. They think that she will not make conservative decisions, unlike the past 3 judges that were appointed by the Republicans.
好，所以 based on 就根据他的 previous 他先前的 decisions 判决的决定，那因为这样看他之前的判决呢，很多人 many people 会 expect her 就是预期他会怎么样 judge 他判决的时候会怎么样，是用比较开明的比较开放的这种方式来做判决Can we say expect her to judge more liberally?In
fact, we can't, because liberal here is not using its usual meaning. This is an American political term. We use liberal to mean progressive, to mean democratic, to mean open to change and open to multiculturalism. So it's a political term. So if you say judge more liberally, then you're just taking it back to its original term of being more freely, which wouldn't make sense here.
所以是有一点差别。如果你只是说 judge more liberally， 那比较没有那个政治上面的意义，好像只是说它比较自由的做判断了。但在这里我们说 in a more liberal manner， 那这个 liberal 就是比较有政治性的意义，它是表示比较开明的、开放的。所以这个地方不能乱换，所以你不能说这地方那我就直接说 judge more liberally， 那意思不一样。
And it's because it's political. Okay, our next article is more fun. It's talking about a Tokyo cafe helps people meet deadlines.
好，那我们中文标题是没写完不能走，东京赶稿咖啡厅。好，那 meet deadlines 就是如期完成某事。
Are you a writer struggling to complete an assignment on time? Then the Manuscript Writing Cafe in Tokyo might be the answer to your problem. When customers enter the cafe, they must write down the goals they would like to accomplish and their expected time frame. The owner of the cafe said this is done in order to keep the atmosphere intense and maintain a level of focus. The cafe charges patrons 130 yen, 29.4 NT dollars, for the first 30 minutes and then 300 yen per hour afterwards. In addition to access the self-service all-you-can-drink coffee and tea, customers can request progress checks that include a cafe employee frequently standing behind them while they are working. Those who visit the cafe appreciate that they are free from distractions and can focus on their work. Oh my gosh, this is hilarious. Are you a writer struggling to complete an assignment on time? Frequently, yes.
Yes.
Everybody who's ever been a writer has sometimes struggled, if not most of the time.
I would say most of the time.
There's some gifted writers out there who are the Mozarts of us all.
Well,
they must exist. They must.
Yeah, they must. 所以呢，我们看到这个，他说一开头是个问句，你是不是一位这个 writer 就写东西的人，可能是作家，但是不一定是作家，甚至于可能是任何在写文案的人都是一个 writer。所以你是不是常在写东西的时候，你会 struggling， 就是指这个 writer who is struggling to struggle to 就是拼命想要完成一件很艰难、很难的事情。所以你是不是拼命努力想要 complete 完成 an assignment？ assignment 就是一个指定的工作on time 准时。所以你是不是一位很拼命觉得很困难，但是还是想要按时完成稿件的作家呢？
What would you say is the difference between a writer and an author?
Writer is someone who writes anything. But author usually
has been published.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyone can be a writer, but you're only an author once you've published things.
Yeah. 好，所以这个 writer 跟 author 的差别是 author 他就是他的东西有出版，但是呢 writer 的话就你只要是个你写东西你就是个 writer 了。
So, are you a struggling writer? Then the manuscript writing cafe in Tokyo might be the answer to your problem. It might solve your problem.
好，所以如果你是这个想要赶稿头大想赶稿的一个 writer 的话呢，那么这个东京的赶稿咖啡厅那 manuscript 是手稿所以这个赶稿咖啡厅呢，它might be 有可能是 the answer to your problem 就是你的问题的解答或者答案，换句话说它可能是你的解决办法。那为什么是 might be 呢？因为有的时候你如果稿写不出来就是写不出来，到哪里都是写不出来。
It could help. It might help.
Yeah, it might help. Yeah.
So that's why I go to cafes. I don't go to this cafe, but you go to cafes because it's just you in the cafe and you know you've just spent money to be there to do the work. And the guilt motivates me.
Oh, okay.
The guilt on buying myself a cup of coffee motivates me to focus.
Yeah, 所以我想很多人都跟 Angela 老师一样就在赶东西的时候呢，他就到咖啡厅这个因为他付了钱去坐在那边，所以他觉得说哇，这个我花了钱坐在这里，那一定要写点东西出来才行。
Yeah, can't waste this time. I just paid for it. So when customers, but this place is even better. When customers enter the cafe, like upon stepping into the cafe, they have to immediately state their goals. Not only their goals, they have to state when they expect to finish it. Like, holy cow, I would not like that. So anyways, but they have to write down the goals they would like to accomplish. As a psychological impulse, this is very effective. You can do this without going to this cafe. You can be like, okay, I have to write XYZ in the next 30 minutes. And you write that down so it's sitting there on this piece of paper looking at you accusatorily. That will work as well. This is a tried and true psychological technique.
Yeah, 所以其实这个你给自己定下一个必须完成的日程，这个其实很重要在心理上面它会帮助你完成这件事情因为有的时候你如果给自己太多时间的话，你反而会变得很慢你如果说我只有多少时间，我只有2个小时必须要完成，你说不定就能够在那时间之内完成了。
Well, not even talking about finishing the whole project. You can be like, I need to get the outline and maybe the first paragraph written in the next hour. That kind of goal is also permissible.
Yeah, 那这个当然不一定是整个作品完成，很多时候尤其在写比较大的东西的时候，你要给自己一些小的目标就是我什么之内要把这一部分要把哪一部分写完那这样子的话也是很有帮助的那所以这地方讲到说，这个当顾客进入这个咖啡厅的时候 enter the cafe， 他们必须要 write down 写下来 the goals 就是目标，这个目标是 they would like to accomplish 是他们想要达成的目标所以这个 goal 其实那个 they would like to accomplish 那个 accomplish 的受词就是这个目标。那同时他们要写下来他们的 expected 他们预计的 time frame 就是时程，也就是一个时间的范围，大概他们希望在多少时间之内要完成什么东西。
The owner of the cafe said that this is done in order to keep the atmosphere intense and maintain a level of focus. Because the other reason to go to a place like this is if everyone around you is intensely working, you cannot help but be affected by it. It's like those study centers in Taipei where there's meant to be an absolute silence. Even the tiniest sound, everyone just looks at you accusingly. Or you can even rent these like little tiny rooms where it's just you in this very quiet but very intense feeling space. You don't know who's in the other rooms, but you can feel their focus.
Yeah, 所以有点像这个台北的一些 K 书中心你进去之后呢，每个人都很拼命的在用功，那这个整个气氛就会让你也必须要拼命的用功。那甚至有时候你可以租一个小小的一个小房间那个里面其实非常狭窄，就大概通常就是你跟你的书桌跟你的书而已，但是呢把你关在那里面那你会感觉到还有其他房间的人大家都很努力的在工作，所以产生了某一种同侪压力所以我们看到这地方他这个句子他讲说，这咖啡店的老板 the owner of the cafe 他说呢 this is done 就是这样做 in order to 目的是为了干嘛呢，要 keep the atmosphere intense 是要保持那个气氛很紧张， intense 就是紧张，而且同时要 maintain 就是维持 a level of focus 就是要维持某一个程度某一个一定程度的专注。
So the cafe charges patrons 130 yen for the first 30 minutes and then 300 yen per hour afterwards. That is genius. The longer you stay there, the more expensive it gets.
所以很聪明啊。他说呢，这个咖啡 charge someone 就是收某人的费用啊。那在这里呢，他对客人收费 charges patrons 就是 customers。patrons 这个字本来它的是指的是使用某一种服务的人，例如说餐厅啊、图书馆啊、商店啊、旅馆等等的。好，它本来是指这个常客或者主顾啊，但现在它也可以表示客人、顾客。所以他对客人收多少钱呢？130日元啊，相当于台币29.4块。好，那是前30分钟，所以很便宜。但接下来呢，他每个小时就收费300块钱啊。那 afterward 就是最初的30分钟之后，他就每个小时收300。
But honestly, this is super cheap. 30 NT for 30 minutes, and then, you know,
还是很便宜。
It's still, it's only 150 per hour after. Actually, it's about the price of a cup of coffee plus.
差不多。
Yeah. Okay, so in addition to access to self-service, all-you-can-drink coffee and tea, so you have access to this self-service drinks. And then besides this access, you can also request progress checks. You can ask an employee to come check up on you. So this employee will stand behind them while they are working, because there's nothing like somebody like going, to make you like, you know what? If you ever want to stop doing what you're currently doing, you can go work in this cafe. Because I imagine if you went and walked behind somebody and stood there, they would freak the heck out and be like, okay, I'm focused.
Yeah. And I don't even have to say anything.
You don't. You just walk up to them and they'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. 好，所以呢，这很有趣啊。他说
It must be fun to work there is what I'm saying.
Yeah. 在那里工作应该蛮好玩的，就专门去那里看别人有没有按照时间做好啊。所以他说 in addition to 除了 access 就是取得的管道，也就是除了他可以取得什么呢 ？access to 他可以取得 self-service 就是自助服务、自助式的 all you can drink 喝到饱的。我们常常讲 all you can eat， 但这里呢没东西吃啊，你只能喝 all you can drink。好 ，coffee and tea， 所以他这里的咖啡跟茶呢，你爱喝到饱都没问题。好，那除了这些之外呢 ，customers 顾客也可以 request 要求 progress checks 就是进度的检查。那什么叫进度的检查呢 ？That 就是指你要求的进度检查，包括什么呀？你可以包括叫一位 Café employee 就是一个咖啡店的员工啊 ，frequently 常常 standing behind them 常常站在客人，所以客人可以要求一位员工常常站在他自己的后面 while they are working 啊，站在后面盯着他们看。
So this really is like a third place kind of place. It's a place that's outside of your life that you can go to just get a thing done without the rest of your life getting in the way.
Yeah.
And so those who visit the cafe appreciate that they are free from distractions, that they are not distracted, they're not made to think about other things, and they can focus on their work. But it's more than that. They actually have motivation because everyone around them is also super focused, and they can have extra motivation by somebody coming to check up on them. Even though they know they have asked for that person to do that, it still works.
Yeah. 好，所以呢他这个讲到说 those who visit the cafe 去过那个咖啡的人或者去那个咖啡的顾客呢 appreciate that 他们对什么事情感到很感谢很感激什么事情呢 they are free from 他们免于 distractions 分心也就是说他们在这个地方工作他们就不会分心而且他们可以 focus on their work 他们可以专心在他们的工作上面要做的事情上面那刚刚 Angela 讲说这个因为他如果说整个地方气氛都是这样子的话那就给你额外的 motivation 你就有更多的动力说啊我也要好好努力而且呢你如果觉得不够你还可以付钱好请人来检查你的进度一天到晚盯站在你后面看你有没有努力好所以这些东西其实都会可以帮助你这个工作的更好
So do you know that you can do this in Taipei for completely free without the coffee and tea? There is a place in Taipei that you can go that has got this intense focus and you have to spend no money. It is the Da'an Library on Jianguo Nanlu, right? You go in there, there's 3 or 4 floors, and there are these huge tables that usually only one person sits at unless it's very busy, then you have to share. It's a gigantic table where 6 people could sit down. It's all for you. There is this intense silence. And if you break the silence, you will be notified by the stares from other people. Yeah. Or they will come up to you and be like, you're typing too loud or something. That happened to me once. Anyways, but if you want to go there and focus very intensely for free, their library hours, I think 9 to 5 or 9 to 8 or something like that.
Actually, I think a lot of libraries in Taiwan do that.
I know, but this place in particular has this kind of intense focus that I love.
Okay.
But there's no coffee, which is why I don't actually go. Because I also want the coffee.
Yeah. 好，所以其实我们刚刚聊的就是台湾其实很多图书馆都有这种阅览室啊，那地方其实也是在里面大家都在里面读书，那个气氛其实也是很好。
Yeah, it's great. Okay, so that's all we have for you today, but please join us again for more English fun. Until the next time, bye-bye.